opinions scream the loudest. It's time to wade through the noise.
Hunger no get drum! Hunger no get religion!
And scan the interest and trending topics that matter. Stay tuned to News, your plug to the stories making the buzz, from politics to science and technology, social justice, and more. Let's tackle the tough questions and expose the truth. The News on Voice of the People Television, 9 p.m. The issues. Don't just react, understand. Do you want your voice to be heard? Do you know that you matter in the scheme of things? The People's Voice, the show where ordinary citizens take center stage as we discuss the biggest stories that affect you and I. With you in mind, we facilitate the People's Voice. Make your voice count. From the views on the street
We get hunger.
to the blaring horns of a hustling city, the loudest voices of the common man got a medium to be heard.
This particular administration, they were coming unprepared.
It's not a bad thing to renovate the president's lawn.
Through top-notch probing, unbiased reportage of news, sports, business, entertainment, and cultural documentaries, Voice of the People 90.3 FM became a symbol for 21st century media. And now, a new baby is born. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV, youthful, vigor, and penchant for excellence in the continent's media space. Exposing the wrong, applauding the rights, dissecting the news without fear or favor, factual and contents,
Corruption kills three things and makes a society.
representing the interests of the people and giving them a voice. Voice of the People TV is here to stay towards building a fair society. VOP TV, Voice of the People Vision, truly us for the people. From the views on the street
Good evening, Nigeria. Welcome to another exciting episode. Welcome to the 9 p.m. news on Voice of the People TV. I am Jerry Akpabio.
I am Vivian Oguche. But before we continue the news, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Are you ready to connect with distinguished Nigerians around the world? The Diaspora Perspective is here. Views of Nigerians in the diaspora on burning issues.
From the street of New York, the royal cities of London, and the bustling cities of Europe, Voice of the People Television brings to you a roundtable and collage of interesting views from Nigerians in diaspora.
Join the host of the show and some Nigerians in diaspora, Dr. Damages, the flagship, Show, and KJ, as they discuss the experiences, challenges, and triumphs of Nigerians living abroad.
Discussing and analyzing everything from politics, culture, career success, and how Nigerians are staying connected to their roots. Showing every Saturday by 2 p.m. West African Time and 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
The Diaspora Perspective, giving a voice to Nigerians abroad. In a world where truth is the ultimate power and opinions scream the loudest, it's time to wade through the noise.
Hunger no get tribe. Hunger no get religion.
And scan the human interest and trending topics that matter. Stay tuned to The Issues, your plug to the stories making the buzz, from politics to science and technology.
Welcome back. And before we begin the news, kindly visit our website www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news. And now to the headlines. Court bars Natasha Akpabio orders from press interviews.
An LP caretaker committee chair welcomes Abure's removal.
NJC refutes approval of Imo acting chief judge.
And report reveals women underrepresentation in health sector leadership.
The federal government reopens Independence Bridge in Lagos, says fix begins in 3 weeks.
Former Vice President Atiku blames Tinubu government for killings.
Now on the foreign scene, court oppose impeachment of Korea's president.
Well, in business, U.S. markets tumble after a retaliatory move by China.
And sports, Real Madrid players fined but free to face Arsenal.
Well, in the world of entertainment news, Ijoba Lande calls out Funke Akindele for paying 90,000 naira after 1 month on set. Now the news in detail. Justice Binta Fatima Nyako of the Federal High Court in Abuja as bad parties in the suit filed by suspended Senator Natasha Akpabio against the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, and 3 others from granting press interviews on issues relating to the case. The judge issued an order on Friday following a complaint by the lawyer to Akpabio, Kehinde Ogunwumijimi, a senior advocate of Nigeria, that the plaintiff was moving from one television house to another, granting press interviews on issues relating to her case, which is currently pending before the court. In a brief ruling, Justice Nyako said there shall be no press interviews by all parties and their lawyers regarding the subject matter of the case. Justice Nyako also barred parties and their lawyers from engaging in streaming the proceedings of the case on social media.
Meanwhile, the Social Democratic Party in Kogi State has expressed deep concern and lack of confidence in the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, citing experiences from the 2023 Kogi State governorship election and a recent development regarding the recall process of Senator Natasha Akpabio. The Kogi State Press Secretary, Social Democratic Party Ijele, disclosed this today in a statement. The opposition, Social Democratic Party in Kogi State, further highlighted the alleged inconsistency in INEC's pronouncement regarding the petition to recall Senator Akpabio.
Now, this and ultimately provide quality living for the people, has continued to address issues of insecurity and the infrastructural challenges that are critical to development.
In another development, Chairman of the Labour Party Caretaker Committee, Senator Nenadi Usman, has reacted to the Supreme Court's judgment sacking Julius Obure as the national chairman of the party. Usman said in a statement that the judgment is a victory for the rule of law and a significant milestone for the nation's democracy. The chairman of the Caretaker Committee said that the Labour Party remains steadfast in its mission to create a new Nigeria. Similarly, the Secretary of the Labour Party National Caretaker Committee, Darlington Nwakocha, also welcomed the Supreme Court's verdict removing Julius Abure as the National Chairman of the Labour Party. He said in a statement that the decision reinforces the rule of law, strengthens democratic governance, and restores stability within the Labour Party. You may recall that the Supreme Court earlier today set aside the judgment of the Court of Appeal in Abuja recognizing Julius Abure as the National Chairman of the Labour Party. In a unanimous judgment, a 5-member panel of the Apex Court held that the Court of Appeal lacked the jurisdiction to have pronounced Abure National Chairman of the Labour Party after finding out earlier that the substance of the case was about the party's leadership.
And now President Bola Tinubu has appointed Ayo Shotiri as the new managing director of the Bank of Agriculture BOA with immediate effect. The appointment was confirmed in a statement issued on Friday by the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga. Shotiri, a seasoned finance and agribusiness expert, brings a wealth of experience from both the private and public sectors. Before his appointment, he served as the Group Chief Executive Officer at SAO Group, where he spearheaded several groundbreaking agricultural projects, including the development of a 20,000-hectare oil palm plantation and large-scale poultry, aquaculture, maize and cassava operations in Ondo State.
The National Judicial Council has dissociated itself from the appointment of Justice Theophilus Nzeku, the acting Chief Judge of Imo State, by Governor Hope Uzodinma. In a statement signed by his Deputy Director of Information, Kemi Ogedengbe, on Friday in Abuja, the Council stated that although it received a letter from Governor Uzodinma requesting approval for the appointment of Justice Nzeku, who ranks 4th in the hierarchy of judges in the state, the NJC has yet to consider the request. The Council asked the general public to note that it is not a party to the purported appointment. The NJC noted that although the governor outlined reasons why the 3 major senior judges were, in his view, not suitable for the role, the Council has not yet taken a position on the matter.
And now to health matters. A new report released by African Women on Board has revealed gender disparities in leadership across Nigeria's health sector and called for urgent reforms to empower more women into decision-making roles. In a statement issued on Friday, AWB said the report, titled "A Balanced Prescription, Leadership and Innovation in Nigeria's Health Sector," was previewed at a roundtable in Lagos, attended by senior professionals, policymakers and health leaders. The report highlighted how entrenched structural barriers continue to limit women's advancement in the sector, despite their critical roles in service delivery. It framed the push for women in leadership not only as a matter of fairness, but as essential for strengthening national health systems. The AWB said women remain underrepresented at the leadership table despite being the backbone of healthcare in Nigeria. According to the organization, to build a resilient and inclusive system, there is need to address the gap with deliberate policies and institutional reforms.
The Minister of Works, David Umahi, has reopened the Independence Bridge in Lagos State. Umahi, a former governor of Ebonyi State, stated this while addressing journalists in Lagos on Friday. The minister stated that permanent work on the bridge will begin in 3 weeks. He acknowledged the importance of the bridge, which links Victoria Island to other key parts of Lagos, and apologized for the inconvenience caused by the temporary closure. Umahi said the ministry has taken note of the public reaction and emphasized that lessons learned from this incident would inform better planning for future infrastructure interventions. You're still watching the 9 p.m. news on Voice of the People TV. More stories after this break.
Welcome back. And now the rest of the news. Gunmen ambushed an 18-seater has swiftly led the kidnapped spy into the bush. Confirming the incident, the chairman of Odupo local government, Maxwell Ugiri, told reporters on Friday that 5 passengers were abducted, while a female passenger managed to escape. However, the management of Benue Links later confirmed on Friday that the driver, identified as Samuel Agege, and the front seat passenger were killed.
Meanwhile, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has criticized the security framework of the Bola Tinubu-led administration, describing it as a failed system that has made killings across the country a recurring tragedy. In a statement on Friday via X, Atiku said the security situation under Tinubu has become a nationwide phenomenon, with cases of killings becoming so frequent that many no longer make headlines. According to the former vice president, the failure of Bola Tinubu's security architecture has now become an endemic nationwide phenomenon, with repeated killings, more of which do not even make the headlines. He expressed concern that Nigerians were gradually becoming desensitized to reports of violence, particularly in communities such as Boko's local government area of Plateau State, where fresh attacks have left many dead.
And away from that story, the Lagos State Independent Electoral Commission has issued a strong warning regarding a fake 2025 notice of elections currently circulating on social media and various online platforms. The Commission clarified that the notice in question did not originate from LASIEC and has no official standing. In a statement, LASIEC advised citizens, political parties, and all other critical stakeholders to disregard the information. The Commission emphasized that the process for conducting local elections in Lagos State is firmly governed by legal frameworks, and any official election notice will be published through recognized channels, including newspapers, at the appropriate time.
Elsewhere, Benin City witnessed a grand celebration on Thursday as Governor Monday Akpabio and Deputy Governor Dennis Idahosa returned from Abuja following the affirmation by the Election Petition Tribunal as the duly elected leaders of Edo State. The arrival drew massive crowds, with residents lining the streets in support, accompanied by Deputy Governor Idahosa, Secretary of State Government Musa Ikilo, and other top officials. Governor Akpabio embarked on a motorcade from the airport to the palace of the Oba of Benin, His Royal Majesty Omonoba Nedo Ukuakwolopolo Oba Ewari II. At the palace, Governor Akpabio and his deputy paid homage to the monarch. The governor reiterated his commitment to good governance and ensuring the Edo people enjoy the dividends of democracy. VOB TV's Rhoda Johnny reports.
The governor, Dennis Idahosa, secretary to the state government, Kilo, and other top officials. Governor Akpabio embarked on a motorcade from the airport to the palace of the Oba of Benin, His Royal Majesty Omonoba Nedo Ukuakwolopolo Oba Ewari II. Jubilant supporters lined the streets, waving and cheering. At the palace, Akpabio and his deputy paid homage to the Reverend Monarch, thanking him for his prayers and support. In a statement signed by Fred Itwa, Chief Press Secretary to the Governor, Akpabio reiterated his commitment to good governance and ensuring Edo people enjoy the dividends of democracy. The tribunal's ruling solidified Akpabio's mandate in the September 21, 2024 election, dismissing all petitions against his victory. His visit to the Oba's palace underscored his respect for tradition and the Benin monarch's role in the state governance. Reported by Rhoda Johnny, VOP TV. Correspondent, Benin City.
Jesus. Rhoda, that was a good one. Thank you. Now, this report says, despite student loan scheme introduced by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and other federal government scholarship schemes, there appears to be a decline in enrollment courses in the nation's tertiary institutions. This is more noticeable in the southeast part of the country, where the male folk especially are beginning to shun the teaching profession. Just back from Federal College of Education Technical Meze, Anambra State, where the institution formerly received a new entrance. VOP correspondent Undu Okpaleze files this report.
Offered by the Federal College of Education Technical Umunze in Anambra State are both the National Certificate in Education (NCE) and the corresponding degree awarding level, the BEd. This appears a far cry from what it used to be across teacher training higher institutions in the country. It also remarkably differs from what obtains in the universities and other higher institutions that run courses not typically education in nature. Again, it would appear that the boy-girl ratio of those admitted stands at 1:10. The outstanding point is that many are no longer taken to studying teacher training courses. This might have informed the provost, Professor Teresa Okoli's topical mention of the federal government's scholarship schemes to lure students back to education courses.
This year's federal government scholarship with 300,000 per section. Also, Miss Nabife Blessing Chimanya, a 300 level NCE student of English Social Studies, won a presidential award in recognition of her outstanding academic performance. The college management will continue to provide the required facilities and resources for excellence to thrive.
The acting Vice-Chancellor of Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Awka, Professor Joseph Ikechebel, whose institution provides the federal government-owned Federal College of Education Technical Umunze with the needed affiliation in running their degree courses, summed up the ceremony thus. His address was read by Professor Ebere Okibo.
I have provided the above information to give you a faint idea of what efforts that have been put in place to make this a friendly environment for the development of the admittance today in character and learning. Your obligations as students. For your stay in Federal College of Education Technical Umunze, to be successful with the acquisition of degrees of Nnamdi Azikiwe University, you owe certain obligations to the college, to parents, and to yourself.
What actually is the essence of matriculation? Some students and staff provide an insight.
This is to formally induct our students into the college system. It is a way of welcoming them officially. Like we had orientation lectures before this, to tell them what and what they are expected to do in the school. Then this ceremony now welcomes them officially. Announced students of Federal College of Education Technical Umunze. What it means is that new students are admitted formally. They are being sworn in to be of good behavior to the students, because you know that in today's world you see so many people being admitted and they are wanting in so many areas. So they are being warned, they are being admitted and warned equally to be of good students and of good behavior.
The ceremony had a formal procession of staff and students in their academic gowns, as well as presentation and admitting of the new intakes. Ndu Okpaleze, Voice of the People Television.
Excellent report, Undu. Thank you so much. Coming up next, the foreign business and sports stories. After a short break, stay with us.
Welcome back. On the foreign scene, the Trump administration has fired the head of both the National Security Agency and the U.S. Cyber Command. The BBC's U.S. partner, CBS, has reported the removal of General Timothy Hoff comes amid what appears to be a wider purge of top security officials at the agency and the White House. Democrats have said they are deeply disturbed by the move and say it jeopardizes national security. It is not clear why General Hoff was removed, but it comes after a meeting between President Donald Trump and far-right activist Laura Loomer on Wednesday. Ms. Lumen reportedly urged Trump to fire specific employees whom she suspected lacked support for his agenda. She posted on X that General Hoff and his deputy, Wendy Noble, who U.S. media reported was also sacked, have been disloyal to President Trump, saying that is why they have been fired. Before their firings were reported, Trump told reporters he would get rid of any staff deemed to be disloyal.
The U.S. South Korea's president has been removed from office after the Constitutional Court voted unanimously to approve his impeachment. Yoon Suk-yeol was suspended from duty in December after being impeached by Parliament following his failed attempts to impose martial law. The ruling on Friday was met with tears of joy and sadness among Yoon's critics and supporters gathered in various parts of Seoul to watch the verdict live. A snap election to vote for Yoon's replacement must be held by the 3rd of June. Today's verdict, therefore, came as a relief to most who cheered on the streets of Seoul as the verdict was read out. It is a victory for South Korea's democracy that for a while looked as if it was on dangerous ground. The Constitutional Court was damning its criticism of Yoon's authoritarian power grab as all 8 judges voted to remove him from office. Moon Young-bae, acting president of the bench, said Yoon's short-lived military takeover was not justified and that he had gone against the people he was supposed to protect.
More documents about the relationship between Prince Andrew and an alleged Chinese agent of influence are being released today. The court papers about Yang Tengbo's alleged activities in the UK are becoming public after a legal battle, including media outlets, for more transparency in the semi-secret case. Yang has been banned from the UK on national security grounds after the Home Secretary concluded that he may have been trying to exert influence on the Duke of York. The businessman, who denies wrongdoing, was accused of using his position as an influential businessman in Prince Andrew's inner circle to clandestinely further the Chinese state's aims.
Well, let's take you to India now, where Parliament has passed a controversial bill that seeks to change how properties worth billions of dollars donated by Muslims over centuries are governed. The upper house passed the Waqf Amendment Bill 2024 early on Friday, a day after the lower house declared it amid opposition criticism. Muslim leaders and opposition parties say the bill is unconstitutional and infringes on the rights of India's Muslim minority community. But the government says the bill aims to make the management of Waqf Muslim properties more transparent. The bill will now be sent to India's president for her assent before it becomes law. This approval is expected to come soon. Prime Minister Narendra Modi called the passing of the bill a watershed moment. In a post on X, he said the system of governing Muslim properties had been synonymous with the lack of transparency and accountability for decades.
The Thai court has issued an arrest warrant for American academic under Thailand's lèse majesté law that forbids insulting the monarchy. They filed a complaint against Paul Chambers, a lecturer at Naresuan University in central Thailand, under the lèse majesté and computer crime laws, according to his legal representation. Chambers and his lawyer are due to report to police on Tuesday, where charges are expected to be filed. Akarachai Advocacy, led of the Thai Lawyers for Human Rights Center representing Chambers, told newsmen he did not know the reason for the complaint. If convicted, Chambers could face 3 to 15 years in prison for each lèse majesté count.
Now, China has announced additional tariffs of 34% on U.S. goods on Friday, the most serious escalation in a trade war with President Donald Trump that has fed fears of a recession and triggered a global stock market rout. In the standoff between the world's top two economies, Beijing also announced controls on exports of some rare earths, while Trump doubled down as well, vowing not to change course. China added 11 U.S. bodies to the unreliable entity list, leading to a plunge in world financial markets. Meanwhile, investment bank JP Morgan said it now sees a 60% chance of the global economy entering recession by year-end, up from 40% previously.
In the meantime, the Director General of the World Trade Organization, Okonjo-Iweala, has warned that recent tariffs imposed by the United States could significantly affect global trade and economic growth. On April 2nd, U.S. President Donald Trump announced global tariffs on all imports, including the 14% tariff on goods from Nigeria. In a statement issued on Thursday, Okonjo-Iweala emphasized that the WTO is closely monitoring the situation and engaging with member countries about the potential economic impact. She noted that many WTO members have expressed concern and the organization is working to address these concerns. Okonjo-Iweala cautioned that these new tariffs, if in combination with other trade measures introduced earlier this year, would result in a global trade contraction of about 1%, marking a downward revision of nearly 4 percentage points from previous estimates.
Well, in business news, Nigeria's economy faces fresh risk as international crude oil prices slump by $10 per barrel, threatening the country's already stretched fiscals and exposing deep-rooted vulnerables in Africa's largest crude oil producer. The decline, driven by U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs of at least 10% and potential countermeasures, have deepened the sell-off, sending Brent futures down $10.05 to settle at $64.9 per barrel on Friday. S&P Global Community Insights analysts have also said in a report that they see this level of tariffs and a looming trade war as bearish for the global economy and oil demand, and thus bearish for Platts dated Brent. Analysts also cite as shocking factor the surprise Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries and Alliance decision to accelerate production increases in May. 8 OPEC Plus member countries agreed to gradually ease voluntary output reductions totaling 2.2 million barrels per day, increasing their combined production quotas by 411,000 barrels per day starting in May. The cartel said in a statement following a meeting to assess global oil market dynamics. Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu's 2025 budget is anchored on a benchmark oil price of $75 per barrel and an ambitious production target of 2.06 million barrels per day, a target that
4% tax on U.S. goods from next week, prompting another fall in the European market. Moments before the U.S. market opened, Trump has said China played it wrong, the panicked, adding his policies would never change. The development has also seen indexes in London, Berlin and Paris all dropping by more than 3%.
Well, in sports news, 4 Real Madrid players have been cleared to face Arsenal in their Champions League quarter-final, despite 3 being punished by UEFA. Last month, European football's governing body opened an investigation into allegations of indecent conduct by Antonio Rudiger, Kylian Mbappe, Vinicius Jr. and Dani Ceballos during their last 16 win against Atletico Madrid. The 4 allegedly made gestures towards the home fans after Real beat their city rivals and penalties to book their place in the last 8. UEFA said on Friday that no disciplinary proceedings were brought against 24-year-old Brazil winger Vinicius. The other 3 Real players were found to have violated the basic rules of decent conduct on Article 11, subsection 2, subsection B of UEFA's disciplinary regulations. Mbappe, 26, and Germany defender Rudiger, 32, were both given a suspended 1-match ban and fined $25 or £25,000 and £35,000 respectively. Spain midfielder at 28 was fined £17,000. Arsenal face Real in the first leg of their quarter-final at Emirates Stadium on 8 April with a second leg at the Bernabeu on the 16th of April.
All right, Kevin De Bruyne has confirmed he will leave Manchester City when his contract expires at the end of the season. De Bruyne has won 16 trophies since joining City from Wolfsburg in 2015, including 6 Premier League titles and the Champions League in 2023. He has scored 106 goals in 413 appearances in all competitions for City that started just 19 games this season. The Belgium captain moved to City from Bundesliga club Wolfsburg in 2015 for £55 million. Manager Pep Guardiola joined the club a year later and helped to develop De Bruyne into a central midfielder.
And in the world of entertainment, comedian Ijoba Lande has called out Funke Akindele, alleging that he was underpaid after working on one of her projects. In a video circulating on social media, Lande claimed he spent a month on set at Iman Estate, but was not adequately compensated for his time. The comedian said he received 90,000 naira after signing a contract he initially assumed was just a formality. Lande advised upcoming actors to always negotiate payment before accepting work. Meanwhile, Funke Akindele is yet to comment on Lande's allegation.
Russell Brand has been charged with rape, indecent assault, and sexual assault between 1999 and 2005. The charges relate to 4 separate women. The comedian and actor has been interviewed multiple times by police since an investigation by the Sunday Times, The Times, and Channel 4's dispatches in September 2023 revealed multiple serious allegations against him. The 49-year-old has previously denied the allegations, calling them very hurtful, and saying his relationships have been always consensual. In a short statement, the Metropolitan Police said it had written to Brand to inform him that he was being charged with 1 allegation of rape, 1 allegation of indecent assault, 1 of oral rape, and 2 further counts of sexual assault.
Well, that's it on the 9 p.m. news. But before we go, a quick look at the headlines. We told you that court bars Natasha, Akpabio, and others from press interviews.
Labour Party Caretaker Committee Chair welcomes Aburi's removal.
NGC refused approval of Imo acting chief judge.
Report reveals women underrepresentation in health sector leadership.
FG reopens Independence Bridge in Lagos. Begins in 3 weeks.
And former Vice President Atiku Abubakar blames Tinubu's government for killings.
Well, on the foreign scene, court upholds impeachment of South Korea's president.
In business, U.S. market tumbled after retaliatory move by China.
In sports news, Real Madrid players fined but free to face Arsenal.
And in the world of entertainment, Ijoba Lande calls out Funke Akindele for paying 90,000 naira after 1 month on set. Do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel. On YouTube, we have Voice of the People TV, and on all the social media platforms, we have VOP TV Live. I am Jerry Akpabio.
I'm Vivian Oguche. Good evening.
Good evening.